Okay, good evening, everyone, and we'll call this regular council meeting of March 13th to order. First of all, under presentations, we have none this evening. Could I have a motion, please, to adopt the agenda as presented? Councillor Hoffert, seconded by Councillor Yanish. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you. City Clerk, you heard Councillor Moore also agreed.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Next, could I have a motion, please, to accept the minutes of the council meeting held on March 13th, 2017?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Yanish. All in favor? Carried.
Yay.
Thank you. Next, under original communications, delegations and petitions, we have the revised council meeting dates, which we had discussed last meeting. So could we have a motion, please, to accept those as presented? Thank you. Councillor Vroba, seconded. Councillor Nibbs, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. I take it, Councillor Moore, you were in favor of that as well?
Yay, yes, yay.
Okay, thank you.
Push one for in favor.
Next, under original communications, delegations, and petitions, we have the Reagan's Cart Report for February 2017. Could we have a motion, please, to accept that as presented? Councillor Yanish, thank you. Seconded. Councillor Vroba, thank you. All in favor? Carried.
Yay.
Okay. Next, under original communications, delegations, and petitions, we have the Southeast Transportation Planning Committee for February 28th. Could we have a motion, please, to accept those minutes as presented? Councillor Vroba, thank you. Councillor Nibbs, seconded. All in favor? Carried.
Yay.
Councillor Moore, did you have anything to add to that about the transportation meeting?
I will have some information for you at the end of the month. We have our EGM, so we will know at that point if we are continuing to get funds and how much funds we're getting. So I'll be happy to report that at that time.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Next, under written reports of committees, we have the Leisure Advisory Board minutes of March 1st. Could we have a motion, please, to accept those minutes as presented? Councillor Nibbs, seconded. Councillor Frank, thank you. I thought I saw you move. Okay, thank you. All in favor? Carried, thank you.
Yay.
And also under written reports of committees, coming out of the Leisure Advisory Board, we've got the pathway policy, which we've already discussed on council. The naming of Gertie Lev and Jenish, those two names will be going forward on the pathways. So this recommendation has been made to council on behalf of the Leisure Services that the Pleasantdale pathway from McCormick North to Willock be named after Gertie Lev, and the pathway on 4th Ave leading to the Souris Valley Theatre named after the brothers Joseph and Eugene Jenish. And Rod March, the Parks Manager, will be submitting this report for council approval. So what's the wish of council on these two names coming forward for our pathways? Councillor Frank?
Your Worship, I just wonder if we needed to have the distance on those signs. I like the idea of what we're doing. We voted on it and we gives consensus on it. I just wondered if the distance needed to be on the sign. The only reason for that is if I have 500 yards and you have 800 yards, I think the questions are going to come up, how did we arrive at that? So if everybody just had their name on there, I don't think the yards mean anything.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Moore. What's the wish on council? Councillor Vroba?
Thank you, Your Worship. I too agree with Councillor Moore. I wasn't quite sure why it had that meters or yards on there, but.
Okay, yeah. So you're suggesting just the name with the arrow, and then when and if it were to end, just simply have the other name at that juncture?
Yes, because hopefully it would end somewhere where there's a corner or somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, do we have a motion then for that, to change it to that?
I'd make that motion to change it to no yard, no distance.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Nibbs, and I imagine Councillor Moore, you'll second that motion?
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You've heard the motion, all in favor? Carried?
Yay. I'm in favor. Yay for Dennis.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Okay, moving forward under written reports of committees, next is Estevan Exhibition Association minutes of January 27th, 2017. Could we have a motion, please, to adopt these minutes as presented? Councillor Broba, seconded. Councillor Nibbs, all in favor? Carried.
Yay.
Thank you. Councillor Broba, did you have anything else to add?
Your worship, just that our last meeting with the Estevan Exhibition Association was postponed due to the blizzard, so
Oh,
our
okay.
next one will be rescheduled soon.
Okay, thank you for that. Next, under executive reports, and we have Kafloom. Kafloom, please take center stage with us this evening. We've got the engineering tender for King Street roadway rehabilitation, Bannatyne to Pine, which we've already talked about doing for next year. So the recommendations are the tender number ES01 2017 King Street, Bannatyne Avenue to Pine Avenue roadway rehabilitation project be awarded to Glenn Peterson Construction for the sum of $477,691.60. Now this roadway rehab work will be asphalt pavement works. As per the direction of council, a tender document and pertinent drawings and specifications was prepared by the engineering department for the King Street, Bannatyne to Pine Avenue roadway rehabilitation project. Tender number ES01 2017 was issued on February 9th, 2017. Hard copies of the tender document was made available at the City Hall for local contractors, and the tender was posted at Sask Tenders and Merck's. The tender closed on February 28th. The City of Estevan, as I'm sure most people are aware of, is preparing to rehabilitate King Street over the next few years. As part of the rehab program, it is proposed that King Street, Bannatyne Ave to Pine Ave, roadway rehabilitation consisting of the following undertaking: King Street and Bannatyne Avenue intersection improvement, roadway rehabilitation between Bannatyne and Pine, which will include construction of a four-way lane all the way through, and also King Street and Pine Avenue intersection improvement. The tender document stipulates that the project will start on May 23rd, 2017, and will be completed. The completion date is set for June 30th, 2017. Upon approval of this tender, the engineering department is to start making the following arrangements. Make arrangements with Sask Power to relocate the three streetlights located on the north side of the roadway. Make arrangements with Can Traffic to relocate one traffic signal light and upgrade wiring and conduit for lighting upgrade, and city staff to relocate pertinent city utilities as required. It also is to be noted that the costs for relocation of city and franchise utilities is not included in the tender. We have an allowance involved between $125,000 and $175,000 for that. All pre-construction arrangements will be completed prior to May 23rd. In the event of all utilities work is complete ahead of time and the climate is conducive to start construction, the general contractor will be allowed to start construction ahead of start date. If more time is needed, then the schedule will be reset accordingly. Kafloon, do you have anything to add? No? I think I covered all the bases, so what's the wish of council?
Your Worship, I was just wondering, unless I missed it here, Do we have a clause in there for late start and for late finish, even though we have good weather? Is there something in there covering us on that?
Yes, I believe Kafloum, it's $500 a day. Is that correct? $500 a day, Councillor Moore.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Frank.
Maybe this tender isn't the right spot to ask this, but one question I've had a lot of people asking me in regards to this street being redone was the addition of potentially adding a crosswalk light in, it's kind of the middle of the mall parking lot to, it's Pine,
Pine?
right? Yeah.
That would be Pine.
I'm wondering if we need to, or if we can potentially look at getting at least the wiring or something there for that we could, or even just looking at, or discussing if we want to have that. I know working at the mall for a number of years, there is a lot of people that cross there, so.
And over the years as well, we have had some requests for Pine. So, you know, that's something, if council wishes, we could refer to engineering and get a price on that. Councillor Yanish?
Your Worship, didn't we discuss one time about the crosswalk at 4th Avenue? When we do, if we do put lights up, moving that one over to Pine?
Actually, that has been discussed at various times with,
Right.
with council. That's true. I'm not sure how Councillor Broba would feel about that. Councillor Broba?
I would be in agreement to move that crosswalk. I've lived actually at the intersection where that crosswalk is for approximately 20 years, and I don't think, maybe one child I've seen actually use that crosswalk, so.
Well, that would be a good cost saving because I know when we put that in 20 years ago, it was like 50,000. So that would be a good cost saving. Go ahead, Councillor Yanish.
Your Worship, would that mean we'd have to change the tender for this, or that could be done on
I
our
don't
own?
think so. Kafloum, what's your thoughts on that? We shouldn't have to, I don't think.
Your Worship, it will be an addition. We'll make a request for additional work, and then we'll gauge it how much it will come, and then if our budget allows, we'll add it on. If it's more than what we budgeted for, then we have to come back to the council.
Back to council
more.
for approval. Okay, thank you, Kafloum.
Your Worship, if I could just mention, this would be a great time to get those manhole covers at the level they should be, and I'm sure that's going to happen, but we will pay particular attention to make sure that they are at the right levels instead of being dipped as they are now.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Moore. Kafloum, I think you already had planned to do that, correct? Okay, Kafloum is nodding his head, Dennis, so you can hold him accountable for that.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
That's good. Sounds good to me.
Okay, so do we have a motion to accept the recommendations on the tender?
I would make that motion.
Okay, thank you. We have a seconder by Councillor Nibbs. Any other further questions or comments? If not, all in favor? Carried.
It's a yay for me.
Okay, thank you. Next, under executive reports, we've got from the water treatment plant manager, the source water on-take environmental impact study. Thank you, Kafloum. So this is from Kevin Suter. KGS Group has requested a scope change to their agreement with the City of Estevan for the engineering and design work for the source water and intake project. This scope will decrease the work involved in the treatability testing of the water source and increase the work in the environmental impact study. The net result of the scope change will add $37,762 to the contract for the work proposed. Now, KGS has signed an agreement with the City of Estevan to complete the design of the secondary intake and pipeline to Rafferty Dam from the Estevan Water Treatment Plant. When they sent in the proposal, the federal government waived all requirements of an environmental impact study, and the province had not indicated this requirement one way or the other. After KGS started working on the project, the provincial government sent the city an email stating that an impact study will be needed to be completed. KGS got the costs to do this study, and they were in excess of $100,000. I met with KGS and stated that option will need to be found to lower this cost prior to going to council. So these are the options that came from the meeting. Number one, pay the full amount to do the impact study on all pipeline routes. Number two, narrow the routes to one route and complete the impact study on the one route. Number 3, reduce costs in other areas of the agreement to offset costs in the impact study. I instructed KGS to meet with the government and see if the impact study parameters could be reduced. It was determined if the pipeline followed the right-of-way, we would not be required to do all the plant and animal counts on the route. We will also limit the impact study to one route. After further meetings with KGS, I have recommended that the treatability study that KGS had proposed be reduced in size and just concentrate on the THM potential of the water. That's the trihymethylene, which is the main reason why we're moving from Boundary Dam to this new water line. The primary reason for changing the water sources, here we are, is to reduce the THMs. And we already know the other quality parameters of the water in Rafferty. So therefore, we don't have to necessitate another study on those parameters. The conclusion, the scope change attached will reduce the impact requirements to a minimum that is acceptable to the province and offset this cost by reducing testing requirements of their proposal. The net change in the agreement will be an additional cost of $37,762. So Kevin did a great job with his efforts. We've reduced this over $60,000. This cost is eligible for the grant funding formula as long as the total costs of both projects do not exceed the estimates given when the application was filed. And of course, that's 1/3 Fed, 1/3 province, and 1/3 us. So the recommendations are that Council accept the changes outlined in the scope change dated March 8, 2017, sent to us by KGS Group, increasing the costs of the work KGS is contracted to do for the city in the amount of $37,762. So this is what Kevin is asking for. Questions and comments from Council? Councillor Nibbs.
So who actually missed that we had to do this study?
What happened, the federal government and the provincial government were both asked. The federal government said a environmental impact study was not needed. The province did not reply. Then once we got the tender closed, the province got back and said now we need it at the cost of $100,000. So through Kevin's efforts with the contractor and the province, the provincial people, we got that $100,000 down to $37,700.
I get that. So I like the savings that he did, but
Yes.
why didn't we phone the province with no response and say we need an answer back? These tenders are closing, at
Well-
the time. So we could have either said yay, nay, or asked for more grant money or whatever, right?
Yeah,
At the time?
I think probably what happened, and the fact of the matter remains, Councillor Nibbs, is we did ask both the province and the feds. The feds got back to us and said no. The province didn't get back. So I guess perhaps at that time we could have chased them.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Okay. Councillor Groba?
So basically, though, it will only cost the city 1/3 of $37,000. So
That's correct.
approximately $12,700 type thing.
That's correct. Thank you. Our cost will be that amount. That's right. Councillor Hoffert and
Yeah.
Councillor Yanish.
Thank you, Your Worship, to the city manager. Could you tell me what the total cost that we're paying KSM Group? Can you remind me what that total cost of this project is?
I believe it was 3.1, Council Offer, but I'd have to go find that exact amount. That was for the total construction. The KGS part, I'd have to go look again. I don't know off the top of my head.
I think the total cost for the Rafferty line was $7 million, and $3 million was for the residual management, for a total cost of $10 million. To be shared at 1/3, 1/3, 1/3.
Okay.
Any other questions, Councillor Frank?
So I remember, when we accepted the KGS Group, though, they were quite a ways under budget for what we had planned, correct?
That's correct. They were the lowest, yes. Yeah. So you're right.
So we do have room left in our budget this year to account for this, or no, did we?
I don't know.
Yeah, Jeff.
Out after?
Sorry, Council Frank, I don't know that off the top of my head. I'll have to go back and look at the numbers.
City manager will check, but you're probably right, Councillor Frank. I think they were lower by probably at least that amount, if not more. But
Which is an advantage. I'm still
Yeah.
not happy that we have to pay more.
exactly. Okay. Any other further questions, Councillor Yanish?
Your Worship, does the province always drag their heels on stuff like this? Is this something that we, from now on, any tenders, get it all correct first before we close it?
Well, I think that's a fair comment. Usually they're Johnny on the spot. and
Because $40,000 isn't a small penny, and we did budget, I think, for what we did. We didn't have extra, if I'm not correct, right?
There wasn't a lot of extra in
Right.
this tender, but you're right. We should probably next time chase them down until we do get an answer.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Nips.
Just make the motion and acceptance approval. I guess we have to do it now. There's no way around it.
Exactly.
So-
Thank you. Have we got a seconder? Thank you. Councillor Yanish. Any further questions or comments? If not, all in favor? Carried.
Yay.
Thank you. Noted, Councillor Moore.
Yay.
Okay. Next, thank you. Next, under executive reports, we've got the land development, proposed streetlights for 4th Ave, LDR 3-2017. So that is just further information, because we had asked to extend that basically to Fairlick Hall. So we've got the complete number of streetlights and the additional cost. The total cost for all 26 streetlights will be $64,371.88 plus GST, plus the costs of any upgrades to the steel poles. Sask Power estimates that the installation of the lights will take 8 weeks to complete. Conclusion, if the city is interested in moving forward with the design, Sask Power will need to be contacted to verify the locations on site and finalize the cost for the installation. It is recommended to consider installing steel poles as not to detract from the nearby residential areas. This may push this beyond the current budget allocated, but it will have a lasting positive impact in terms of durability and aesthetics for the lifetime of the streetlights. Now, as council knows, we didn't really have this in the budget. We were looking either to find it within the existing budget, or if we came across some extra monies within the budget, to probably direct those monies toward this project. So at this time, City Manager, I don't think we're asking for this to be done, correct? It's just, again, information. Remember last time we discussed it, we said get the cost on the total amount, so now we have it. Councillor Groba, then Councillor
Thank you, Your Worship. If I'm correct, though, we do have a motion that the first portion of the street is being done this year. And so what we had asked for is that they come back
With
with
the
the
final.
second portion. So what
Yeah.
you're saying is tonight, we will not decide if we're going to do the entire road. We're going to wait, take a look at the budget, see if we can find some money.
I would think
And then
that
bring
would
it
be
back.
yeah, I would
That's
think
what
that
I'd
would
like
be
to see
wise.
happen too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this was, something we should maybe make sure we have the money in place first.
Exactly. Thank you. Councillor Hoffert, then Councillor Nibbs.
Yeah, I guess I'm just looking for some information from the city manager, Your Worship, as to where he believes we can find this in the budget. Is council interested in raising the additional revenue if this isn't budgeted to pay for these, or are we going to find this somewhere within, or what would the plan be?
Manager.
Thank you, Councillor Hofford. So with the recent amount of snowfall we've had and with the budget coming out, I think I'd wait till we see some of those numbers before we proceed with anything. We should have some final numbers for snow removal probably later this week or next week when we have contractor bills. But especially with those census numbers coming out and us not increasing like other cities, I'm a little concerned a municipal opera grant won't be where it needs to be. So I would just hold off before we proceed with any of these until we get some of those figures moving forward, probably after the first quarter at the end of March.
Then we'll have a better idea. Thank you, City Manager. Councillor Nibbs.
Since we haven't released the final, is there any thought of raising it one more mil or like the taxes? We have, we haven't even removed snow in November, December yet. I just see we're going to be coming into a shortfall. Just a thought. Thought I'd throw it out there.
Okay.
That I'm asking.
Thank you, Councillor Nibbs, for that thought.
Your Worship, I think that's not a bad idea that we take some time to take a long look at this and make sure we do it right and do it complete. And it'll give us some time to see if we can find a couple more players to help us out with this project, because it's not only for the city, Woodlawn and the golf course should be interested in what we're trying to do, and maybe even the RM. So it'll give us a chance to review it with those folks.
That's a good point, Councillor Moore, and we will have upcoming meetings with the RM, so that'll be an opportunity for us to discuss that with them. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Okay, any, Councillor Hoffer?
Yeah, so ideally this will go ahead, if not this year, next year, but I just, as a bit of information, the Woodlawn Regional Park passed their budget at the most recent meeting last week, and they are going to continue the lighting from the corner by the Doug Third Hall all the way down to the sports fields as well, internally within the park. So the park will be on board with this and is excited about it, pending approval from the city, of course.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Hoffer. Go ahead, Councillor Frank.
Sorry, can you refresh, the motion, we do have a motion to go with the first half, correct?
I'm not sure. Do we?
Yeah.
Okay, so then, do we need to make a motion or adjust that motion just to defer the whole project? Because I would rather see us do the whole thing. Like, I can't imagine if we do half, it's gonna still just cost that portion to do the second half. Like, do we want to defer the whole thing until, especially because we didn't budget for the first portion either?
Well, we could, what's the wish of council? We could look at doing that. Councillor Groba?
Thank you, Your Worship. I would just like to say, I think if we're just going to defer this portion till the start of March, I would hate to see us rescind a motion that's already put down until we at least see what we can do.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hoffer?
Yeah, sorry, another question then. If we do half this year and half next, what does that do to the price of the second half? I'm assuming there's some economies of scale to do it all at once. And so then we might need, as a follow-up information, what if we don't do the whole project at once? What does that do to the entire price of the project? Could we ask the city manager to get that information?
Yeah, city manager, I know you don't have that at your fingertips, but you could get it. And, you know, I don't know that it would be that much more, Councillor Hoffer. I mean, the transformer has to go in, and basically it's so much a light pole. And probably if we did stagger it, we could then afford the steel poles, which would be better aesthetically and longer lasting than the wood, as SBC suggests. Go ahead, Councillor Nibbs.
Maybe they can do all the base, just the bases, then we just have to put on the lights and the other parts. We get all that, because I don't think that would be a whole bunch more.
Right, do the underground?
Get the underground done,
Okay.
get that all done, so it's sitting there, and then put the posts and everything on next year.
Okay, well, we'll continue to have these discussions, so we'll have city manager check that out, and then we can have further discussions at the next meeting. Okay? Okey doke. So now, for now, we'll just get a motion to accept this report, and then we'll have further discussions on it. Thank you. Councillor Yanish, seconded by Councillor Groba, to accept the proposed streetlight report for 4th Ave. All in favor?
Yay.
Thank you. Next, from Land Development, we've got the zoning bylaw amendment coming up for a deposit, LDR4-2017. The issue of requiring a security for building permits had previously been explored under the building bylaw as an alternative to using fines and penalties and going through the courts in cases of non-compliance. So after we researched that, we found we'd be further ahead to go through the zoning bylaw. And as far as these deposits for development permits, and basically what this is, it's people that take out a development permit, whether that be for an addition on a house or a garage, and then 8, 9, 10 years down the road, they've got half done, their neighbors are upset, some are even having trouble selling their houses, and nothing is changing. So what this will do will give us teeth to actually say, okay, get this building, whether it's your house addition or a garage, finished, or basically suffer the repercussions. So this proposal, the background discussion, the framework for this proposal is based off of previous wording from the zoning bylaw, the Planning and Development Act. Section 3.4b of the zoning bylaw mentions that an approved building permit for single detached, semi-detached, and duplex residential dwellings and accessory uses and structures issued pursuant to the City of Estevan building bylaw shall constitute a development permit. This ensures that any changes to the zoning bylaw will also enable the building official to apply and enforce the security. Secondly, the Planning and Development Act outlines what can be legally included within a zoning bylaw. The relevant section 53(3)(q) states that the following provision may be included within a zoning bylaw: requiring a letter of credit, performance bond, or any other form of assurance the council considers necessary to ensure that the development is constructed and completed in accordance with timeframes and development standards required in the approval. So the proposed amendment would add the following wording to the zoning bylaw. 34E, all development permits may be subject to a performance deposit of up to a maximum of $5,000 to ensure that the development is constructed and completed in accordance with the timeframes and development standards required. The performance deposit shall be fully refundable upon a final inspection being conducted and all work completed to the satisfaction of the authority having jurisdiction. Performance deposits shall be held for a maximum of 2 years from the date of the permit issuance and shall be forfeited to the city in event the conditions of the permit have not been met or the final inspection has not been requested and carried out within the time period. Conclusion. This amendment will give a clear way for land development to collect and enforce the deposits. The conditions are clear and do not allow partial reimbursements. Either the work is completed and the deposit is returned, or it is forfeited back to the city. As previously mentioned, this deposit will also apply to building permits issued by the building official. The sum of $5,000 had previously been discussed as an amount that can be penalized, but not too much of a burden to deter developers. The amount can also be reduced for residential development or waived at the discretion of land development for certain cases. So basically, it's a $5,000 max. The recommendations, it's recommended that the attached amending bylaw be read for the first time tonight and publicly advertised for a minimum of 2 weeks. A public hearing will be required prior to the second and third reading of the bylaw. Okay, so could we have a motion, please, for acceptance of this bylaw amendment, and then under introduction of bylaws, we will go ahead for first reading.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hoffert made the motion, but thank you. Councillor Moore, you seconded?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor? Carried.
Yay.
Okay, thank you. Now, under introduction of bylaws, we will give first reading for this very bylaw that we explained. And after that, it will be advertised for a couple of weeks. And we look forward to hear what our community feels on this. So I will be asking for first reading of bylaw number 2017-1985, a bylaw of the City of Estevan to amend zoning bylaw 2010-1834, being a bylaw of the City of Estevan to regulate the use of land and location of buildings and other structures in the City of Estevan so as to provide for the amenity of the city, the health, safety, and general welfare of its inhabitants. So could I have a motion this evening, please, for first reading? Thank you. Councillor Nibbs, seconded. Councillor Frank, all in favor?
Yay.
Carried. Thank you. Next, under public hearings and reports, we have none this evening. Under giving notice, we have none this evening. Motions from committee, we have none this evening. Consideration of bylaws, we have none this evening. Inquiries, Councillor Hoffert.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just have one comment or in question. I'm just wondering if you have your tickets for the Friday night Bruins game.
Actually, I do. Thank you so much for bringing that up. My father-in-law, who we gave him a season ticket for the year, is paying us back by buying the first ticket of the playoffs.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Absolutely.
And you could maybe pay it forward on behalf
Yes.
of your father-in-law.
I like the way you think, Councillor Hoffert.
So anyway, Your Worship, I'd like to invite the community to come and support the team. The last few crowds have been real nice, and it's been a real exciting environment for the guys. It's probably the best team we've had in recent memory in terms of excitement and playing as a team, and I'm looking for great things in the playoffs from this fine group of young men. And I think it's it would be great if our community come out and supported them wholeheartedly.
I totally agree. Thank you so much, Councillor Hoffert, and hopefully all of council can attend, and I'm sure most of you will, and the public at large. Please look at coming to this game. It's just great hockey. Thank you, Councillor Hoffert. Councillor Vroba.
Thank you, Your Worship. And in keeping with the hockey theme, the Midget AA Bruins also just won in Melville in the semifinals, so they're going on to the finals against Yorkton. And it will be Saturday, March 18th at Affinity Place at 7:30 p.m. So rest up after you're done Friday night's Bruin game and head out on Saturday night. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Vroba. That would be nice if we could beat both the AA's in Yorkton and the Bruins beat. That would be awesome. Thank you. Councillor Yanish?
Yes, Your Worship, I have a couple questions. To City Manager Jeff Ward, have we rectified the elevator problem at Affinity Place?
Councillor Yanish, I have a report that I received today that will be going to the next council meeting for discussion. The leveling cards have been put in and have fixed the problem for now, but the report will be coming to you and council will make a decision at that point.
Okay, thanks. And I have one other question. Have we got any further on getting our council meetings put onto the web so people, other than,
I just talked to Robert today. Access is looking at streaming them. What venue we're looking at streaming those will be finalized soon.
great, because I get asked that quite a bit. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Yanish? Councillor Frank?
None this evening.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Nibbs?
Nothing this evening.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Moore, how could we help you this evening in inquiries?
I think everything's under control. You folks are doing a good job, so unless I get a real serious phone call, I won't be bothering anybody.
Okay, well, you continue to have a fantastic holiday in Hawaii, and we look forward for your safe return.
Well, we're going to be heading down to the Mai Tai Inn right here at 4 o'clock.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Moore. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks. Did you have anything, Councillor?
Nothing
Do you have anything, City Manager?
Nothing to add,
Ci-
Your Worship.
City Clerk?
Nothing, Your Worship.
Okay, Trudy, or Comptroller? Okay. Jackie, did you have any words of wisdom from the Chamber?
Nothing today.
Nothing this evening? Okay. With that, could I have a motion, please, to move into committee? Councillor Hopper, seconded by Councillor Vroba. All in favor? Carried. Thank you so much and good evening.